Before I start, I do ask, keep all questions to the end. I'm going to talk very fast. I have a lot to cover. I do, however, have a reference guide online. If you would like access to this, instead of taking notes, I know it's a little bit of a work in progress, but I have every bit I cover here on that guide. I will have all of my information up on the screen, and you can come and talk to me after, and I will send you the link, and I will try to post it as publicly as possible. It is completely free. I don't ask for anything. I love teaching people about fabric. You will learn very fast, and I love fabric. And besides that, welcome to Cosplay Materials. This panel will literally cover everything and anything you can use to make a cosplay. I'm technical issues here a second. There we go, okay. This is me. I am Rachel. You can also call me ZG. I go by both. I graduated May in 2017 with a Bachelor's in Art and Design. I'm currently back in college because art's really hard to get a job in. I've been a cosplayer for about 5 years. I've been sewing about 4. And I have extensively studied. I've gone to London and studied Footwear and embroidery at the Royal School of Needlework. I know a little bit about what I'm talking about, sometimes. I've also won first in craftsmanship for novice and second in journeyman at AZ. These are some of the costumes. The one on the far left, I'm sorry for the static. I'm sorry guys, this is actually a horror panel. You didn't know that. The one on, wait, I think it's my left. It's yours, right? The small picture, I won the second with that, and the big picture at the end, that was what I won first place in novice with.
What up? I'm Jen. I spelled blue wrong. It's Blue J.
It's French.
Yes, there you go. I'm fancy. I am currently a film and television production major at Western Carolina University with a focus in costuming and editing. It's very weird, I know. I've been a cosplayer for about 6 years. I've won first place journeyman at Comic-Con with the middle picture of the steampunk Robin with retractable wings. And then a lot of local con awards. I don't compete much. So, yeah.
To start this off, I'm going to start with very basic. If you're starting a cosplay, get yourself a reference image. This is actually a reference image for a cosplay I wore earlier today. Reference image can be anything. If you're doing fan art, get every piece of fan art that artist has. If you're doing something from a game, screenshot the game. I know some different game artists will do turnarounds. I think Overwatch does that, and then BioWare. BioWare actually has extensive guides on some of the costumes. All you have to do is Google it and you have them. And if you're doing like an anime, I know an anime I was doing recently was Magic World Raising Project. There's not very much official art of my characters, so I was going into the anime and screenshotting it itself. That was a really tough dress to make. But basically, before you get your cosplays, you need to know what you're going to do. So your reference image will basically be your guide on what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And then you have to do your research. I'm going to tell you this is a fantastic tool that not enough people utilize. It's called Google. If you want to know how to make something, you probably can Google it. And I'm going to be honest, I use Google for almost every cosplay I do. Google can include, hey, who's done this cosplay before? I do that all the time. I love looking up other people's cosplays and going, oh dude, that's cool. I want mine to look as good as that. Or maybe that doesn't look as good. Maybe I should make sure I don't do something like that. Or if you like someone's makeup, sometimes some people do makeup tutorials. Feel free to use it. And I will also say, don't limit yourself to just a cosplay tutorial. There's so many other tutorials out there. I love watching Peter Brown. He does wood turning. But he's also been experimenting with resin crafts. I'm learning a lot more about resin crafts because I went and I started watching this carpenter work. Just basically look up whatever you can. There will be some weird questions that you probably won't find an answer. Feel free to ask that cosplayer. Some cosplayers will be very open and be like, oh yeah, no, I got this from here, here's how I did it. I know for my costumes, if you ask me a question, I'll be like, yeah, no, here's my pattern, here's how I did it, here's the step-by-step tutorial. If I used a tutorial, I'm like, yes, here, blink, have fun. And if I can't help you, I try to do my best to provide that information. Again, some cosplayers might not. It's really up to them. And don't be afraid to look up like a, not a work in progress. It's where, there's a bunch of areas.
like a speed through thing.
Yes, like a speed through video. Like one example I like to
Time lapse,
use.
someone said it, yes.
Time lapse.
That's
Yeah,
it.
there it is.
Jessie Negri did a time lapse of the, shoot, now I can't remember the name. She did a boat. She has a whole time lapse. That shows her entire process on how she did it. You can learn a lot from just watching something simple. You might not be making that exact boat, but that can help you for a different project. Be open to anything. Also use Google, please, before you ask cosplayers questions. These are some of my favorite people I look up to. I follow these guys religiously. Made You Look and Glam and Gore are not cosplayers per se, but they do a lot of body painting, special effects, and prosthetics, and they're very helpful. Kamui Cosplay, she has books on how to do armor. Go check out her stuff. I'm getting her books myself. I'm not very good at armor, guys. Evil Ted Smith, he has a lot of things you can go online and watch his process. He has patterns for helms. He has different patterns for bracers. And you can buy these patterns and then put it directly on foam. And he also does full tutorials. For whatever pattern he releases, he does a full tutorial on how to use it.
If you don't know how to make armor, watch Evil Ted, because you will learn so much.
Punish Props is another one. They do live streams on how they're doing their armor and go through and walk you through it. I definitely highly recommend them. Mango Reed, she go on her YouTube channel. She's no longer as active in the cosplay community, but she has a wonderful Cosplay 101 series that I highly recommend, and it goes through all of the basics as well. Go check her out. I also have to go on my spiel. Buying versus making cosplay. Just because you buy a cosplay does not make you any less of a cosplayer. Just because you make a cosplayer does not make you any more. I cosplay Haikyuu. It's sports uniforms. I'm not making that when I can buy it for cheaper. Why buy something that I can spend just as much money to just like...
These stupid uniforms you can get for like $30, and it's like, I could have spent that much on just fabric alone.
Now, the cosplay I am wearing, I obviously did not make my shirt. I went to Goodwill. I got it for like $4. It's cheap. I got a pair of sweatpants on. However, he wears a Gucci coat. Unfortunately, I am a starving college student who's also a cosplayer. I don't have like $500 for a coat. I did make my coat. On a whim. I made it in 2 days, guys. I have problems.
Oh, wigs, yay. Okay, so finding a wig. My first place to always go find a wig is either Art or Epic, because of the quality that you know you will always get a thick wig. Except for those occasions when you don't, and you have to like tweet at them and be like, hey, you gave me a piece of shit.
We've had that.
Yeah, we had that recently. So Amazon, you can get really lucky with Amazon. I'm currently wearing an Amazon wig. It was thick as shit, and I have no idea how lucky. Like I just got so freaking lucky.
Just try to look up pictures first. If they have a picture or a review, those will give you more information on it. I love it when an Amazon person reviews and has pictures of them in like normal lighting. It helps so much.
Literally, I usually only buy Amazon wigs if someone has reviewed it and put a picture of them wearing the wig. Because sometimes those pictures are not the wig you're getting. I never use eBay, honestly, just because there are scammers that will send you shitty wigs. I would rather do Amazon. Plus, if you have Prime, you can usually get it in 2 days. And last-minute cosplayers, hey.
I will be honest, eBay scares me to death. I don't like eBay. One thing I can say is wig stores. There are some wig stores around. Unfortunately, I don't live in this area, so I can't tell you where your local wig store is. But the cosplay I'm wearing tomorrow is Akshi from Haikyuu. That wig, I left in my car for 3 months in the middle of summer in North Carolina heat, which gets above 100 degrees. I washed that wig and it's perfect. I love my wigs so much. I highly recommend them. Epic is another good site. One side note for me with Arda, I find that Arda wigs can sometimes be a little bit too big, especially if you either have a smaller head or really short hair. They're very good for people who have long hair, then maybe the extra space in the wig cap. I don't have much hair in my head. They get to be a little bulgy in the back. Epic Cosplay Wigs is definitely a good place. My wig is 2 Epic Cosplay wigs that I spliced together. That was fun. Anything else we talk about this one?
Wigs continue. I think you should talk about this one.
Okay, so longer isn't always better. Just because your character has hair down to her feet, that wig is going to be very hard to manage without a con. If you're going to take a long wig to a con, I highly recommend braiding the back of it. It does keep it from tangling a little bit less. I think it's detangler mane and tails.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good detanglers you can get for cheap. Amazon again has really good the horsetail
Mane and
that thing. Yeah, it's like really good for wigs. Also like spray and conditioners. They'll just get it really soft and smooth, and you can just comb through it like butter.
And I will tell you one thing, your long wig is going to be super heavy. You're going to need clips and bobby pins, or that thing is going to slide right off your head.
Arda also has clips that you can sew in the front of your wigs, like any wig. Because some of Arda wigs do come with them already, but they do sell just the clips, so you can just sew it in.
And most wigs, when you do buy them, you'll have to touch up. Not every wig you will. I have got a couple you don't. But most of the time you'll need a little bit of trimming or styling to it. This is a thing that I'm starting to utilize more. My hairdresser actually styles my wigs for me. Like, I will go in and she'll ask for a couple dollars and she'll trim them for me. I love it. Unless you have like really skilled friends, like I have this wonderful girlfriend who does it for me half the time. I also have to go to my hairdresser because we don't let me near wigs with scissors. I'm not very good at it. Let me talk about scissors for wigs. Also, store your wigs properly. Long wigs, if they're not styled, braid them and put them in a bag. You don't want your wigs just in a bratty pile on your floor where your cat's gonna sit on them. Don't do that to yourself.
All of my unstyled wigs are kept behind my door in one of those shoe racks. So I just kind of put them each in the shoe rack thing
And for traveling with wigs, I've seen people use Build-A-Bear houses. Those are very convenient. For us, I actually made us a wig transport thing. Basically, I took a block of plywood and screwed a bunch of dowels to it. All my wig heads fit right on top of it, and it helps transport styled wigs really nicely. A lot of my wigs for this con were not styled, or they weren't stuff that were heavily styled that I couldn't do at the con. I just put them in a neat bag and was able to pack them as well.
wig styling. It's my favorite. Okay, so if you don't have a hairdresser that will cut your wigs for you, you should learn how to do it yourself. It's not that hard, I promise. So to start with, get yourself some hair scissors. Please do not use your ratchet, $2 scissors that it will look like crap.
Don't use your fabric scissors either.
Don't. So texturizing scissors and hair scissors, you can get them at sets. Amazon, again, super easy. How do you get volume? Got to be glued. You have probably heard this before. It is a religion in cosplay. Got to be glued is the greatest stuff to ever come out of wherever the company is. The top 3 pictures are recent wigs that I have styled: Tracer, Zula, Pidge. All use Got to be glued. All Arda wigs, actually. What?
You had others that they didn't show up, sorry.
Oh, the picture. It was probably the picture of scissors. Wig stands. The picture in the corner is a wig stand that will just clip onto an end of a table. You do not want to be styling a wig that's just sitting on a wig head on a table. It will tumble over. It'll go. Buy a wig stand. I personally use a paper towel holder. You just stick it on there. It's like $2 at Walmart. Hair dryers are your best friend. When you're styling your wigs, I see so many people, they're using Got to be glued, and they're just not using hair dryers right after. How do you get volume? You use a hair dryer. You spray, you immediately hair dry.
And this one does do, on their Instagram, which their information is also on the last panel, does live streams of styling wigs and makeup tests as well, so feel free to follow her for that.
Yeah, literally the best place just to learn how to wig style, watching people do it, YouTube. I know Arda and Epic have tutorials, specific styles, but also they're going to help you with anything, really. So those are your necessities for wig styling. Honestly, not that hard. Do not be intimidated. Yes, it will probably look like trash the first time you do, but get a few practice wigs. Literally just practice a few times. You will get the hang of it.
Sorry. And I can say the same for cosplay as well. I'll go more into that, but don't expect like, oh my gosh, best in show winner first right out of the door. You'll probably have a couple mistakes your first times, but you'll always continue to grow. So the next one, binding. And I bring this one up because I literally had to stop somebody from duct taping her chest. No. If you are going to bind properly. And I say this as I am a future medical student right now. I'm doing physical therapy. I'm also a nurse's child, and I know everything that will happen to you if you do not bind properly. If you do not use a proper binder, you have the ability to fracture your ribs. And I'm sorry, I don't think you want to go and spend however much you do at a con. I mean, I spent all this money on my hotel room and I bought a ticket. If I cracked a rib on Friday, I don't think I'd be having a very good time, and I don't think you would as well. You can cause severe bruising, and you can cause permanent damage to your chest. I don't think anybody wants to go on a cosplay and then permanently damage themselves. It is not worth it, I promise you. I say if you can't afford a proper binder, don't do it. Don't go on Amazon and buy the $8 binder. It is not made with a stretchy material. If you are going to bind, most proper binders will have a more non-stretch material right in the front, and in the back it is completely stretchy. Your lung does this thing called breathing. It expands. If you have something very tight and restrictive, your lungs are not going to have that room to expand, and that's what causes the damage. So if I ever hear anybody duct taping for binding, I'm probably going to hunt you down. Sorry.
Please also take care of yourself and don't wear it for too long. Like 6 hours should be your max. You should always take a break.
If you feel pain, take it off. It's not worth it to keep it on if you're in pain. Don't ever use ace wrap bandages to bind. They're just as bad as duct tape. Personally, my favorite brand to buy is GC2B. It is actually a transgender-owned company. Their binders are fantastic. I think they're about $30 a binder, and they have 2 different main sets. They have your normal colors, which are black, white, and gray. And they also have a skin tone set. And when I say skin tone, it's not like white. There are literally, I think it's 5 or 6?
It's 5.
There's 5 different various skin tones, and they're good for almost, like, for quite a variety.
I was wearing one earlier when I was doing Kirishima's hero uniform. So he has an open chest, and I can't have an open chest. So these binders literally just, it was like a little bit off of my skin tone, but it could not be like, it could not.
No,
tell.
if you really wanted to, you would be able to tell. And they also offer a half top and a full body. I personally use the half tops, but I know you also use the full body.
I use the full body just so it would blend well when I just didn't wear the whole shirt. So.
Now, I do have some minor alternatives. A cheaper version of a binder is called a dance top. If you see those pretty ballet dancers, you do not see their whole chest moving around when they dance. They use a dance top. It is basically a very nice sports bra, and you can get them from dance at wear outlets for cheaper than a binder. They are safe because obviously a dancer will use them, and that dancer is going to be breathing pretty hard by the end of her routine. KG tape, you use this for open chest binding. You don't do your entire chest, you just do the sides. And there's some really good tutorials on how to do it. Be careful with KG tape. I have made this mistake. KG tape, when you are laying it down, you have to have the 2 end pieces have to be non-stretch. The tape is stretchy, but the 2 ends you cannot stretch because they cause lots of blisters and it hurts. I have done this. It is very painful. For people who have a smaller chest, there is a camisole method. Go on, there is a tutorial on it. I think you use it.
I'm wearing a sports bra right now. I really recommend if you have a small chest and you're wearing something baggy or not skin tight, just to wear a sports bra. Mm-hmm. Honestly, it'll be better for your back. It'll just be better. Trust me.
You'll be more comfy and you'll be able to last in your con a lot longer and be happier in your cosplay as well. Covering up, this is also one of my favorite subjects because I wear a lot of cosplay that's a little showy. For the ladies in here, or anybody who feels like exposing themselves, please use some dance tights. If you're wearing a leotard and you're wearing no underwear and you ain't wearing no dance tights, we can see that. We don't want to see that. I don't think anybody wants to see that, to be honest. Dance tights are my Lord and Savior. I also am an idiot half the time. I fall downstairs a lot, on accident, I swear. I have burns from soldering irons and hot glue guns. Those show up on my nice legs. I'm sorry, but I don't want to show those off to the con. dance tights. They're lovely. I love them so much. People who have stretch marks. Dancers use these tights because dancers' legs have to be flawless. They have to cover up the muscle definition. Dance tights are amazing. And you can get them from outlets really cheap. I highly recommend dance tights. Diva tape is also a savior. The fawn picture, I have a picture on the web because I forgot diva tape. Thank God I was wearing a pasty, but my entire right side is kind of exposed to the world in that picture because I did not invest in diva tape. Diva tape is basically a double-sided tape that is made to keep fabric in place. If you don't want it moving, diva tape it down. For those who are packing a little down in the under region, please use a dance belt. I don't want to see some man in a leotard without a dance belt.
I've seen at least 3 this weekend.
We don't want to see it. We can see everything. It makes us cry a little. Dance belts you can get for cheap. You literally can just go to an outlet and grab them. And they make everything look really nice. So please use dance belts. We all beg you. Even Deadpool recommends using dance belts. If you don't believe me, I will send you the advert. I will hunt you down. And what I like to talk about dance tights is this lovely picture. That leotard cuts up to here on me. That is my entire hip down exposed, and it's like a thong. I wear dance tights and no one can tell I'm wearing dance tights, but no one can see what's under there. It is all covered, and I don't feel like I'm gonna walk and someone's gonna see my ass. To put it bluntly. I'm sorry for the language, it's getting late for me. I think the last thing before we start getting into fabric and stuff, shoes, or those things you wear on your feet. If you're going to a con and wearing high heels, I highly recommend wearing flats or bringing flats with you because you will probably hate yourself 6 hours in going, wow, my feet hurt. I can tell you that from experience because that's me right now. Just make sure to bring comfortable shoes. Bring band-aids and shoe inserts. Oh my gosh, a good shoe insert can make your back thank you at the end of a con. I don't have shoe inserts and now my entire body's going, wow, you're old. I'm not that old, I shouldn't be feeling that way. One thing I do like to say is if you're wearing a cosplay, try to make your shoes match your cosplay a little bit more. If you're going through and you're the Inquisitor from Dragon Age, that takes place in more medieval times, and you're wearing Adidas sneakers, it's a little obvious. Try a good boot. It doesn't have to be super aged or a boot cover, but a boot would look better than your Adidas sneakers or your Michael Jordans. They don't have those in medieval times. I'm sorry, I break the news to you.
Goodwill is your best friend for shoes because they're already worn, so it looks like they're from video games and stuff. It's pretty great.
And one thing I bring up because you might have seen Chaos Creations and have their lovely heelless shoes. I personally would never recommend buying them for the sole fact you cannot take a heeled shoe and remove the heel and expect to be able to wear that and not get yourself hurt. If you want to go for the heelless look, there's a thing called Amazon. You can buy a pair of heelless shoes for $15 with Prime. It's great. I love them and I use them all the time. If you take a heel off a regular pair of heels, you risk the fact that can break first because the soles are typically made of wood. They are not made to withstand your weight without that heel. They are not made of metal like a real heelless shoe. Also, they're not balanced. You can twist your ankle and possibly break something. I've seen it happen. You don't want to do that to yourself when you're having a great time at the con. The next thing you know is your foot hurts like a man, a mofo. Don't do it. And I bring this up because I've seen it happen before. That fawn, I am wearing a pair of heeled shoes, and I can run in a pair of 6-inch heels because I'm an idiot. We've already established that one. That fawn, I was also running around like an idiot. But they're balanced. They're specifically made to withstand your weight and be balanced. If I wear a pair of heeled shoes, or a heelless shoes for a fawn effect, they feel comfortable. They feel like a normal shoe to me. They don't feel like, oh gosh, the heel's gone, I'm gonna fall over.
That's how it would probably feel for me. I can't walk in heels.
I couldn't run.
Oh, me. Okay. Makeup. Makeup is also a big part of what I do. I love doing special effects makeup. It's part of the reason I did costuming in college. If you're just getting into theatrical makeup for cosplays that have just unique styles, I recommend getting a Ben Nye theatrical makeup kit. They're $65 to $70. They're so worth it. They give you foundations and wheels, eyebrow pencils. It'll last you a really long time, and it's just a perfect sampler of like anything. You could do anything with this kit. Also from Ben, I recommend their cream wheels and sticks, such as like bruise palettes, and there's just like a bunch of different wheels of different colors. They're just so useful. Mayron Paradise AQ is the best thing in the world for full body makeup. It is water activated, so when you put it on, it will dry. You can rub it, it will not come off. So, yeah, when you see Homestuck cosplayers that have all the gray and they're wiping their hands all over the place, they ain't using it. Paradise AQ.
I will say, if you're going to use your body paint, please do your research. If you know that paint is coming off, don't touch people. They will probably murder you if you ruin your cosplay. If someone got paint on my coat, I would probably be thrown out, let's be honest. I wouldn't be at this con. Make sure you know how to set it. There are different setting powders you can use for it. There are setting sprays. I haven't personally used it, but I'm looking into a paint called Temp 2. It is alcohol-based. You use it with an airbrush. It's made people who do skin paint, who send their models who are covered in body paint to water parks. That's what they use. It don't come off in water. But you also have to make sure to bring the cleaner, or you're stuck that color for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, the good thing about Paradise AQ is that it will come off with water and soap. It's definitely one of those things that's an entry-level like cosplay thing that I think that everyone needs to know about. Because when you use cream and people seal their makeup or do all that, it's just annoying as crap. Yeah. From Mayron, also I recommend Rigid Collodium. It's like a scarring liquid. When you put it on, it will look like your face is indented. It is really great. I have some on my eye right now. It kind of makes your skin a little bit wrinkled and dented. It's really good for, you can use it for old age or just any sort of scarring. The Zuko picture, those scars are all Rigid Collodium. Mayron, I like their liquid latex the best personally. I find it lasts longer, and I have like a huge bottle that's like lasted me like a year now. Usually I find that Ben Nye's dries up faster.
One last thing before I move to the next slide. If you are thinking about doing a full body paint and you are worried about your hands and getting paint everywhere, you can do a thing called arm sleeves. The good home specs have some wonderful tutorials on how to do that and find arm sleeves as well. I do highly recommend looking into them.
You can also find them on Etsy. People make them on Etsy in all different colors.
Okay, this is where I come in. I studied this for 4 years. I love fabric, guys.
Goodbye.
I'm not going to go too in-depth on all the tools. I have a list. I literally can talk for like hours. I can talk for days about fabric. I do have this list online. I have to go through it, and I do actually have some of the materials up here. Real quick, going over what you want to mark your fabric with. I use mechanical pencils. I don't use like permanent marker or pins because those can stain the fabric permanently, or if you wash it, it can run. Mechanical pencils, colored pencils. Go get your like nice. You have to get the ones from an art store, not your cheap colored pencils. Those are Prismacolors. That's what I'm going for. I'm sorry, guys. Get a Prismacolor. It'll show up on your fabric, but they wash out. Tailor's chalk is another thing. It will rub off after a little while, but Tailor's chalk keeps your fabric from being stained. I have all kinds of things. Don't ever use your fabric scissors on paper. It'll make you very sad. If you ever go to a seamstress and you take their fabric scissors and cut it with paper, they might cry. Or they might stab you. It's a great feeling. I've had that happen. Your fabric scissors, you don't touch the paper because paper will dull them out faster. You don't want to cut your fabric with dull scissors. You'll just end up chewing it up and wondering why you're not cutting it. I've done this, guys. Like, I tell you from experience.
If you're like me, you can't tell the difference between fabric and paper scissors. As soon as you buy them, get them out of the package, please just write fabric on them.
I also color code mine, so like I'm like, all my green scissors are paper scissors, all of my yellow scissors are fabric. Machine needles, if you're getting, I will go in more into fabric weight here in a second. Make sure your machine needles, they match your fabric. If I take a piece of fur and I try to sew it with something that's made for like this nice satin, that needle's gonna snap real fast and then you're gonna be really sad when you run out of needles. I've done this, guys. Pins and all that. Extra fabric for a mock-up. When we talk about your cosplay, might have a couple mistakes in the beginning. That's why you make a mock-up. And you go get some really, really cheap cotton. Or you can go to Goodwill and use bed sheets. I use bed sheets a lot. You make your basically make whatever you're going to out of something really cheap that you can toss away. We can also go, oh man, that seam is terrible. We shouldn't have that. Or, whoa, this is too small here. Let's add more fabric here. Or that doesn't fit there. Let's fix it.
Also, if you're buying a pattern from like Joann's or wherever, and it's not exactly what you want, making a mock-up will help you determine exactly where you need to cut down on things and where you need to modify things.
And real quick, whenever you go to a con, I don't normally use this. This happens to be the first sewing kit I got after I brutally ripped a cosplay in half, or not in half, but I started splitting it down the back. Someone gave this to me and I was able to fix it. I always keep an entire sewing kit with me with my cosplay, especially when I make it, because it's really nice to have that material there. There's also lovely people here called Cosplay Repair, and they've been helping people out all weekend. Okay, going into more fabric. Woven versus knit. This is important. When you're woven fabric, this is like, if you think of the childhood, like weaving the rubber bands on a loom, that's what your woven fabric is. The big thing about this is it does not stretch. Do not try to make a bodysuit out of woven fabric, because you ain't gonna be moving, you wanna be stuck. It frays very easily. This shirt, if it didn't finish the seam just right, within a couple of wears, you're gonna be seeing a nice big hole. I have actually done this recently, and now one of the tops I made for cosplay I can no longer wear because there's a giant hole I cannot fix. You can finish it using a serger. You can get a pair of pinking shears. That's what those little weird triangles are, right here. And another thing to consider about your woven fabric is you have what's called the grain and the bias. If you want to think of the grain, it's the straight up and down lines, or the horizontal lines. That's your grain. If you were to cut diagonally and then you set it on a mannequin, it's going to stretch and warp. You'll think of this as like Marilyn Monroe, her nice silk gowns. Those are what's called a bias cut dress. They would cut those and put those on a mannequin and leave it for 3 weeks and then come back to it and it would fit that mannequin perfectly. Unfortunately, if you do that with your cosplay, leave it on a hanger, you try to put it on, you have one shoulder up here and the other down there. It makes you very sad. Knit fabric. This is your spandexes. It is, think of your grandma's knitting. This type of fabric is very stretchy. I don't think I have any here, unfortunately. I normally keep a set. This type of fabric you can cut, it's not going to fray, which is awesome because I hate serging all my seams. When you are sewing together a stretch fabric, you cannot just use your first stitch on your machine because you put that on and all you're going to hear is snap, and your entire seam is gone. What you'll use is either your normal zigzag stitch, which is as description is, or a stretch stitch. Basically, this will allow the fabric to move. You will thank yourself later when you do this. There are two types of stretches, a two-way. A two-way stretch is if you pull it one way, it's going to stretch, and you pull it the other, it's not going anywhere. With that kind of fabric, you want to make sure the stretchy part goes over across the body. You don't want to put it up and down because we're not moving up and down and stretching like that normally. You want it across the body because we expand in our lungs, we expand it out. So if you do it the other way, you're going to breathe and hear stop. And then you'll cry a little bit. Another stretch you can get is called a four-way. It's going to stretch in all four directions. I even have some wild gestures tonight, guys. Synthetic versus natural. We're going really in-depth in fabric tonight, guys. Synthetic, this is your man-made. This is basically like your vinyls and such. These will melt very easily if you take an iron to them, and then you'll be sad when your whole shirt is now melted. You don't want to throw it in a dryer. My faux fur, it is faux fur. It is called synthetic for a reason, because if I threw this in a dryer, it'd have matted and melted, and I would be crying, because it's expensive. You cannot dye a synthetic fabric like with regular old Rit dye. You can try to, and then it will wash out in water, and you actually will cry, because I have definitely done that. If you want to dye your polyester fabrics, I poly dye, poly Rit dye. They're specifically made for that type of fabric. You dye with that, it's not coming out. And just make sure, I'll show you how to read the end of a fabric pull on care instructions. care for your nice man-made and synthetic fabrics because you can't throw those into a dryer. Sometimes you can't even take them to like a dry cleaner because that will ruin the fabric itself. Natural fabric. This is your normal cotton and wool and silks and all that. They are composed of natural materials. They can be dyed with things such as tea and coffee, which is actually really fun to do. I've actually dyed cotton fabric with flowers before. You can do it with red dye. Before you sew with your nice cotton fabric, try to wash it in the washing machine first because it does a thing called shrinking. I've done this. My shirt ended up 2 sizes too small. Also, still read your care instructions, but for the most part, most cotton garments or like natural materials can be thrown in a dryer as well. And you can basically dye it with anything. Special fabrics, these are the ones that you have to be a little bit more careful with. They're often more thicker. Faux fur, you don't want to use your cotton needle for. You're going to have to go for more of a leather needle or a heavyweight needle. Some of these fabrics are a thing called, they are not self-healing. If you puncture a hole into vinyl, that hole is going to stay there. It's not going to go away like it would in like my shirt right now. And when you punch a bunch of holes and you sew something wrong in vinyl and try to re-sew it, that will cause it to rip. And then you've just lost a whole section of your garment. It's very sad. Fabric weight, this is also important. The weight of your fabric is how thick it is. This is very lightweight. Lightweight is very flowy. If a breeze came, it would flow. This, on the other hand, is very much more structured. It's not going to go anywhere. Same with this. This is made with very thick faux fur. It ain't going anywhere. It's not going to take a little breeze. It's going to take an actual gust of wind to make it to move. Your lightweight fabrics are like your chiffons and organzas. Heavyweights would be like your faux fur and suedes and leathers. Basically, it just affects how it will lay on your body. If you want like a really pretty gown that's going to flow in the wind, you're not going to pick something like leather. It ain't going to go. Fabric and lining. This is another one. Your most expensive fabric will not be your best fabric. Trust me. What I recommend going to do at like a Joann's, if you're going to go take that fabric to a con, take a picture of it. Take a picture of it with flash. All lighting is not going to be that good. I'm going to be honest. Joann's lighting is very similar to a hotel, sometimes. Take a picture of Joann's that will show you how that fabric's going to reflect the light. This fabric I took a picture of is stupid expensive. Like I want to say it's over $30 a yard. It looks like a garbage bag right here because of the flash. This fabric right here might look pretty right now, but I've taken pictures of it and it also looks like a garbage bag. It ain't pretty. I don't like it. That's why it's not being used. And on the topic of taking pictures in a fabric store, these lovely things at the end of your bolts not only have the price of your fabric, but they also have the names, what they are, how to take care of it, and what it comprises. So if it's 100% cotton, you know it's a natural fiber, and you can wash it normally, and you can dye it with Rit dye. If it has polyester in it, you're going to need to get a poly dye. I also use this because I have a tendency, I overbuy fabric because it's just a habit of mine, but sometimes I'm not the brightest and I don't buy enough fabric. Take a picture of the end of your bolt, you can take that to your Joann's employee and go, I need this fabric specifically. They'll either find it in store, and if they don't have it in store, they can order it in directly and you can have the same colors. Do be careful because sometimes it can change dye lots. So basically, if I buy a red fabric in one store and then go to a different store and buy the exact same red fabric, the color still might be off just a little bit.
If you're buying a lot of fabric and you feel like you're going to run out, I would totally recommend just buying it online, because I actually ran into a problem recently with Joann's where I was like this short on some fabric for a sleeve, and I went back to that Joann's and they didn't have it. They were out, and the closest thing they had, because I needed it for this con, it was like a week ago, and the closest thing they had, I just had to buy 4 yards of it because I had to do the whole thing.
One thing I totally forgot about woven fabric, because it is woven and it has a up and down and a horizontal, you can do a marvelous strip like this. I've nicked it. You can always tear it in a straight line. I like that trick, it makes me happy. I'm sorry guys. Another thing you can think of with fabric is your fusibles. These are things you will fuse to your fabric, obviously. They can be anything from heat and bond, which I use for applique sometimes. I get a spray can of it. Basically, I can spray it on the back of one piece of fabric, up and down into the other, take an iron to it, and it sticks. I applique on top of that. That's basically like a stitch on top of it to make sure it's not going to move. But I've seen people use it for parts of their cosplay. It's like heat vinyl. You can use heat vinyl on your cosplay. Basically, it's a type of vinyl you can iron on. This is what you call interfacing. These nice collars like this, you don't get from just 2 pieces of fabric. You have to put a thing called interfacing in it, and it makes it super stiff. It's like, it has a glue side to it basically, and you'll just iron it on and it adheres, and then you'll sew it from there. I use it a lot for corsetry. If you want a nice corset and you have satin on the outside, you want to back it with interfacing. Be careful because there are more than one type of interfacing. A fusible interfacing is like this. You'll iron it on. There are some non-fusibles, but you have to sew onto your fabric as well.
And they come in different thicknesses, a lot of different thicknesses. So they're really good for a lot of different purposes.
So if you want your nice high collar, you might want something that's going to stand up a little bit more. If you want something just to make your fabric just a little bit stronger, you might want it more lightweight. Prop and armor making this. I will turn more over to my girlfriend over here because unfortunately I am very bad at this, but I want to give you all the knowledge from all the experiments and the trials that I have personally gone through. Like I can tell you about the breakdown of our armor before Katsucon and how I wanted to throw my armor out a window. Oh, well, which fixed? Okay, so tools for basic foam, thermoplastics. You want your heat guns, your blades, X-Acto knives. Awesome. Cutting mats. Also, heat mats are really good so that when you put like Worbla or any other thermoplastic down, it will not burn the surface underneath. They're really good. Rulers, preferably metal. Yeah. Also, just in general, rulers. I love the rulers that are like see-through and also have the grid lines because those are like the most useful things in the entire world. A side note, you can find those at Joann's, but I highly recommend buying them on Amazon. The only reason I say that is from experience in design school, the ones from Joann's, if you drop them just right, will shatter. And it's very scary. Another thing with X-Acto knives, don't use a dull X-Acto blade. If you're starting a project and it's starting to dull, get a new blade.
They're not that expensive, guys. Just do it. It will make it look better in the long run, and you will not like be upset.
Dull blades will also lead to accidents. I've lost fingertips to dull blades. Don't do it. Also, be careful with your rulers. Sometimes metal rulers are nicer; they're a little bit more durable. Plastic ones can get nicks in them. Metal can too. Be careful of that because if you hit that nick while you've got an X-Acto blade coming towards you, you're probably going to cut something off, and it's not a fun experience. And I tell you this because I personally gone through this.
Also, rotary blades. Please be so careful with rotary blades. I've cut my thumb open with them because, yeah, it's not a fun time. I usually don't recommend rotary blades unless you're doing a lot of just long, straight lines. But just please be careful, guys.
The way my professor used to say, if you're very accident prone or very, very new to cutting fabric, don't use a rotary blade, just use a
Yeah. So other tools, hot glue. I recommend for big armor pieces using actual contact cement because it will last longer. But if you're doing small things, hot glue will work just fine. Try not to use a really hot glue gun because it will start melting the things you're working with. Sandpaper, belt sanders, handheld sanding devices. Those are your best friends for getting your seams looking real sharp.
And then for things when you have accidents with Worbla where it's not completely smooth, you can use things like gesso or wood filler. I use wood filler. You can also use wood glue as well.
This is like basically wood filler.
So that was insulation foam covered in wood filler?
Yeah.
This was made by our trunks down there.
Hi.
Who graciously gave us the sword as an example because I didn't bring any of my armor down from the hotel room.
My armor in my hotel room is very fragile, but yeah. And we'll go more in depth in some of the other things in it, like types of foam. EVA foam is pretty standard type of foam. These are like the gym floor mats you can see. I go to Sears and get mine. I got some really cheap recently on sale. A lot of like bigger pieces of armor and all that are typically made out of EVA foam.
EVA foam. Okay, so I have a lot of opinions on EVA foam. So yes, you can buy the floor mats, but you can also go to cosplay websites that sell EVA foam without like a textured side to them that are just double-sided, flat, and it's a whole lot less work to do. And you can get it in a lot of different sizes. The floor mat foam is usually a good size for big pieces. But when you are doing smaller things or putting details on top of the floor mats, thinner EVA foam is a godsend.
And this can be sealed. You do have to seal this type of foam. You can heat seal it and then
there's a lot of methods to sealing. Again, we can't give you everything. I seriously recommend watching Evil Ted. I seriously recommend watching Evil Ted. He gives like the best examples of doing anything. Mod Podge, plastic, or wood glue. Those are your basics. If you want to go flexible, these pieces need to move. Plastic dip or Mod Podge. If your pieces don't need to move, wood glue.
I can tell you about the Mod Podge personally if you want to discuss that with me later. Foam using craft foam, you can also use these for small details. A lot of the armor I made for this weekend was thinner, so I had to use craft foam. You can find these in Walmart, or you can go online and buy really big rolls of them. I use them for feather work as well. They are weaker, but they can be heated into small shapes.
You can also find 5mm, 6mm foam at like Joann's or Wrinkles, which is like, it's like about this thick, and it comes in like this size sheet. It's really good for detailing.
We're just picking it up because we're running out of time. Insulation foam, what that is made out of, that is literally insulation foam. You can go to a store or you can go to like Home Depot, pick up a big sheet of it.
You can only get big sheets of it.
And you shape it down from there. Unfortunately, you cannot walk around a con with just insulation foam because that will just dent it and it will ruin, but you can seal it with wood filler and such and paint it as well. Upholstery foam. Probably aren't making armor out of this foam because it ain't stiff in any way, shape, or form. You'll see this more for like feet making or fursuit making and head making. I use this a lot actually. If you want me to go in depth about upholstery foam, hit me up. I love talking about fursuit making. I personally make a lot of fursuits right now. Thermoplastic. I have a lot of opinions on this. Worbla and Thief are the main two that I like to discuss. Worbla comes in, I think, 3 kinds now. It's black, beige, and clear. Personally, I'm not a Worbla fan because I find it very hard to work with. I find that the texture on it, I have to add more layers and layers of gesso to get the sandpaper feel off of it. I've heard black Worbla is easier to work with. I've not personally worked with that.
Yeah, if you get Worbla, just get black Worbla. It's just worth it.
I use a lot of Thebra. I find it to be a little bit more flexible than Worbla. It's very good for a lot of finer details. And you can also sculpt with it really nicely. I personally prefer Thebra, but again, I'm not the best at armor making, so my opinion might have to use that one.
Thebra is very smooth and it doesn't require as much work as Worbla, but Worbla is thicker.
I know Terraflex you can buy in store as well, and then I can go a little bit more into Friendly Plastic. Friendly Plastic are these beads. You probably aren't making a full armor set out of Friendly Plastic. I did, however, I did Lava Silver Magical Rising Project. Anybody who knows who that is, she has parabentina on her head. Friendly Plastic, I love it.
I have a set of Curious Human teeth that I made, so basically I molded my teeth using Friendly Plastic and used the teeth parts as nails so that I can just pop them right in.
I also used an example of that owl at the end. I did make that project. That was my final college project. Her eyes and her beak were sculpted out of Friendly Plastic as well. Basically, it's just a plastic you put in hot water and it'll go clear and you can mold it however you want.
The best part about it though is that if you don't get it right the first time, you just pop it right back into the pot and just start again.
And if you need to harden it faster, you can dump it into ice water as well. This is my last big lecture, and then we can take a couple questions. When do you say no to a project? You say no to a project when you are super stressed out to the point you have lost all fun and you don't want to do it anymore. You say no when you're rushing to do a project that's not for you, it's for a group. I'm sorry, but if you're doing a group and it's not for yourself, you lose a little bit of the experience. I found myself recently doing a lot of things for other people, and for myself, I lost the appeal of cosplay. I almost left it for a while because I wanted to make my group look better while I wanted to make this cosplay over here. Before this con, I almost gave up cosplay. I had given up cosplay before because the cosplay was not getting done to the point I was stressing myself out. I was making mistakes left and right. If you're hitting that point where no matter what you do, it seems like you're hitting a robot, put it down. There's another con. You don't have to do it for this con specifically. Take it somewhere else. Take your time with it. Enjoy your project. Cosplay is your hobby, it's your passion. If you're not passionate about it, why are you doing it? Like, it's supposed to be about having fun. It's not supposed to be, I need to upstage this person, or I need the most perfect of the group, and I have to match exactly. Do it for yourself, because you want to be happy in the end.
Yeah, and like, I just lost my train of thought. Keep talking.
Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left. This is all my information. Unfortunately, I don't have any business cards with me, but I do have about 10 minutes for questions.
Take a picture?
Yeah, take as many pictures as you want. If you want the reference guide for this, just send me a message on any platform and I will get back to you as soon as possible. And I will send you that link. It's a Google Drive document. I don't care if you share it, just don't claim it as your own because then I cry because I literally spent hours working on that document. Any questions? Raise a hand.
But I was gonna say, if you're rushing on your costume, it's probably not gonna look good. And if you love this character enough, you will stop and you will wait till this con is over and begin working on it again for the next con. Because you want it to look good. Don't rush yourself.
Or you end up like me and making a cosplay in 2 days because you really wanted that coat.
Also, I was wondering, are some fabrics easier for altering than others? Because I have a ball gown. I know dresses can be a little easier to take in, but it's also got like puff sleeves. So.
I personally find for fabric that's easier to alter is anything cotton. Once you start hitting into like organzas and stuff, it's easier to tear and fray. Lighter material, especially when you're going into lighter materials. Like this kind of shirt, super easy to alter. Once you start hitting other materials, now you want to cry a little bit.
Okay.
Any other? I see you in the back, Mr. Armor Man.
I was wondering, if you guys think smooth on, they have a lot of different varieties. I didn't know about trying to get those out.
So Michelle, have you done that?
Do what?
Smooth on?
Yeah, I love Smooth On a lot. My personal favorite right now is I got a bunch of it for free from them because they're great. Smooth On Epsilon is the bomb for EVA foam.
From professional opinion over here, Smooth On is fantastic.
Smooth on Epsilon apparently is very good for EVA foam.
Also, please use chip brushes. They're $1 at the store because it basically it's like a 10-minute cure time. You got to brush really, really quickly, and then it will harden, and then your brush is ruined. So go look at Punish Procs, Bill Duran. He has a bunch of videos on using Smooth On and casting stuff.
So Bill Duran for Smooth On and use a chip brush. Questions?
Yeah, I have a question. What material do you think would be most recommended or best recommended when you're trying to use electronics with it, so like play music out of it?
It really just for electronics.
Like LED lights, you're talking about what you want to use as your electronics?
Or to cover.
Well, let me put it like this. So, I did my cosplay for President Light, My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to figure out what would be the best material to use if I wanted to actually have sound come out of the speaker.
I would think
A
it's
speaker.
yeah.
I have a Bluetooth speaker. Literally, Amazon is your best friend. And let me just cover electronics really fast because you can get real Bluetooth speakers for real cheap. Your best, if you are not an electrician, LED lights, you want lights in your costume, you can get EL wire, EL tape, light that's just a solid light up strip. You can get strings of LEDs on batteries. You do not have to wire like these LEDs yourself.
And if you're talking about speakers, I highly recommend looking up. She's a fursuiter. Her name is Beauty of the Beast, I believe. She has 3 different individual speakers installed in her fursuit that fully are playable, and she uses them all the time. Look her up. She might even have some process stuff for you as well. Beauty of the Beast. More questions? Okay, I know you've been trying to ask a question.
So, in the general decision of making costume, augmenting, screen white visible versus using pattern versus, developing your own pattern.
When doing that, basically do what you're comfortable with. I have been trained in draping and pattern making. I can probably make a pattern off anything at this point, but I'm comfortable with that. For someone who's beginning, go to Goodwill. You can even go to Goodwill to buy like this kind of shirt. Open up the seams and use it as a pattern. Learn from that as well. I use my own t-shirts as my own patterns half the time. Like, it makes it so much easier. And it's what are you comfortable with? Like, if you're not comfortable making some brand 3-piece suit by yourself, go to Goodwill. It's safe as well.
So, like, let's say you are comfortable draping, are there times when you personally would still go off something
For me,
Or do you just make like that?
I personally make all my patterns because I'm extra like that. I think we have to start closing down. I'll take you guys real fast.
Just one quick thing. So one thing, on Saturdays, if you guys take a look in newspapers, if you guys are planning to go to Harbor Freight to pick up any materials that you need, every Saturday they always have coupons to get like a bulk of mats. They have coupons for them for foam mats every weekend.
Harbor Freight is the best.
So real quick, for anybody who still has questions, I can meet you right out in the lobby and I will answer every question. Or if you want to come up here while I'm packing up, as long as we start making our way out, I will literally answer everything that I can. If you see me through the rest of the weekend and want questions, then come up to me and just ask or just message me as well. Thank you guys so much for coming. It's great telling you all about fabric and stuff. I love this.